Hello everyone, this is Dexy, and I wanted to go over some things regarding the Helminth system, more specifically the Bile secretion of the Helminth system. And as we all know, Bile is probably by far the most annoying thing to farm when it comes to the resources required, just due to the high resource costs. But it's really not as bad as you would think. It's pretty bad, but it's not like dreadfully bad, as a lot of people make it out to be. So obviously, there's 5 resources in this section that are not really that viable to farm in the long run. Diluted Thermia is just based on a limited time event. You know, you can never really always get your hands on Diluted Thermia. Coppernicks just has their cost too high, Kratic has their cost too high, Isos has their cost too high, and Fresnel's has their cost too high as well. So these 5 are pretty much always out of the question when it comes to farming them. Thermal Sledge, you can go into Fortuno with a Catabomb Limbo and just farm them that way, which is not too bad. Somatic Fibers, you will get from farming Apollo on Lua, which is a really good farm for Axii Relics that you will guarantee be going for in the next Prime Access, or every single Prime Access from here on out, until, you know, they decide to release a better one, or they nerf Apollo on Lua, which I would certainly hope they don't do. So that leaves Argon Crystals, which is easily obtained through the Isolation Vaults. A lot of Argon Crystals can be obtained through the Isolation Vaults, especially if you bring a Resource Booster with a Smetica Vat. You can easily walk out of one Isolation Vault run with 20 plus Argon Crystals if you're lucky. So this video is going to be focusing on how to do Morphics, just because it's probably the more consistent, and you can farm them pretty easily solo. I know that a lot of people aren't capable of doing Isolation Vaults by themselves, and Thermal Sludge can be kind of boring to farm. So I'm going to maybe propose an alternative way to farm Morphics. Keep in mind that farming for Bile does get easier as you get your 8th upgrade for your Helminth. And the 8th upgrade is you can feed him sentient resources in order to make it so that his distaste for certain resources can be basically removed just by feeding him sentient resources. So for example, if I feed him Morphics, he's obviously not liking Morphics anymore. So what you can do is you can feed him sentient resources that you can get from farming Eidolons or just Cetus Wisp farming, which you can look up a guide on that if you want to. I will not be going over that in this video, obviously. The most consistent one that you will be able to farm is definitely Cetus Wisp. The rest of these are obtained through Eidolons, but for the sake of this video, I'm just going to feed him this. And that will make it so that he doesn't distaste Morphics that as much anymore, specifically 50%. So just feed him another one, and he will suddenly like Morphics again, so you won't get as worse diminishing returns when it comes to feeding him Morphics. So it makes farming Bile much, much easier in that sense. So keep that in mind. You probably don't want to focus on feeding him too many resources in Bile until you get to that point. And obviously you can level up your Metamorphosis by subsuming Warframes, putting abilities on Warframes as well that don't have particularly high Bile costs. So you can get your Helminth up to the 8th upgrade before you start focusing too hard on Bile. For the sake of this video, though, we're going to be using a Nekros with Petrify subsumed onto it. And luckily, this ability, it doesn't show it because I have infused already, but Petrify does not require any Bile to put onto any Warframes, which is really, really cool. I'm very happy about that. And it makes it so that farming for Bile is much easier. So this is the loadout that I have for the mission that we're going to be going to. It's going to be a Steel Path mission, so obviously we want to have a pretty tanky Warframe. So Shield of Shadows is pretty important. Obviously you want Orgaze to make use of Petrify, and Despoil makes using Nekros much, much easier for the rest of the mods. So in order to make maximum use out of Shield of Shadows, you need Power Drift and Blind Rage. Both of these need to be maxed out. And you will have exactly 214% power strength, which is what you need to get the maximum use out of this. For the rest mods, it's kind of up to you. You probably want to have vitality and health conversion just to make yourself tankier, so you don't get one shot if your shadows start kind of disappearing. Natural talent could be substituted out for other things such as like stretch to make it so that you can make use of your petrify and your desecrate. But I like to have natural talent because it makes it so that you're less vulnerable when you're casting Shadows of the Dead, which has a very, 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 very long cast time. But it's really up to you. So that's it for the build. Basically, the rest of it is up to you as well. Just whatever kills infested the best, and hopefully something that can kill level 200 plus infested enemies, because that's probably about what we're going to be going to when it comes to actually doing this farm. Obviously, you want to bring in a Smedikavat. This is the upgrade setup that I have for my Smedikavat, but the only mods that truly matter are Charm, Tech Enhance, and no, just Charm and Tech Enhance. These are the two mods that you want to have for sure. The other ones just make it easier for the companion to not die. Synth Fiber is really good for both your companion's tankiness and making it so that Nekros' life is much easier because your health does not have to be below its maximum in order to collect health orbs. So this is a very, very good mod that I pretty much have on every single one of my companions. In all cases, not just whenever I'm running Nekros. It's just a very good mod in general. So that's the setup that I have. If you want the mission itself, it's on Mars, and it's the Dark Sector Survival named Wahiba. I think that's how you pronounce that. Which is, and you obviously want to be on the Steel Path too, because you get extra resource drop chance, and infested are not particularly hard to kill on Steel Path. And I'm going to switch over to some gameplay. You'll see at the very end how many Morphics I get, and you'll maybe get a general idea of how to make proper use of this build that I have set up right now. So obviously the main focus in this build is to make the most use out of your 4th ability and petrify as much as you can. Your 4th ability is going to be probably your main source of survivability, and you can cast your petrify whenever you have some extra energy and you don't need to cast your 4 to refresh your Shadows' health. Otherwise, I'm just using my Corinth Prime as massive AoE damage because it's probably one of the better AoE damaging guns in the game, especially when it comes to status. And yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and switch to the end of the video at this point because it's fairly simple. There's not too much to this build. It's fairly simple to use, and it's fairly easy to build and pick up. So that's the reason why I think this is a good option. But as you can see, I got 138 Morphics in that 1 hour run, which is definitely not too bad. That's enough to feed him, I believe, 45% of the required bile to get to 100%. So that's not terrible, but it's also not very ideal either. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed, found this informational, and I will see you guys later. Bye.